Welcome to Evolution in Controls. I'm your host, Tim Wilson. Thank you for joining us. It's part 3 of our 3-part Conveyor series. Conveyor complexity has been driven by the advancements in technology. Designing conveyance systems that include sensors, transducers, and even AI has become the province of specialists. In part 1, we discussed Bosch Rexroth conveyors, their applications, and the types of information needed to begin the design process. In part 2, we discussed the collaborative design process, customer involvement and expectations, and how Morrell's Motioneers are engaged in the process. For part 3, we're going to discuss how the designs are proved and tested before shipping. Here to join us is Kevin Curtis, Windsor Branch Manager for Morrell Group, and Mason Cole, Senior Sales Engineer for Bosch Rexroth. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us again.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, so we've covered the information, we've covered the design, we've delivered 3-dimensional models, we've delivered drawings. Now it comes time to test the stuff out. What else can we do?
Sure. So one thing that Rexroth can offer with our VariaFlow product line is testing of the actual product on a real conveyor, right? So we do have a model set up in our Charlotte, North Carolina facility that customers can send product and we can do testing on for viability.
It's not software, it's an
actual conveyor. Yep.
Actual conveyor in
Yep.
your facility.
Correct. Yep, and it's obviously not a rendition of exactly what the customer system is going to look like, but it does have key features that will test all of the aspects of any system, right? So it has straights, it has curves, it has transition points, as well as elevation changes if they're required.
You don't need a 100-foot-long straight section to prove that
Correct.
it'll run, but you do have all the critical points.
Correct.
Like curves, bends.
Absolutely.
How about elevation changes?
Yeah, so elevation changes, we can do inclines with the with the VariaFlow conveyor. We can also do elevation changes with what we call a wedge-style conveyor, where the product is actually gripped from the sides and can actually change a 90-degree orientation to a different elevation, or go over an aisleway or whatever it may be. And so we can test that as well.
Is it an elevator or is it conveyor belt?
It's conveyor. So it's actually 2 side-by-side conveyors that are vertically oriented. So it actually squeezes the side of the product and actually transfer the product up and over the system.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Kevin, you're mostly involved in automotive or largely involved in automotion, and that's using the TS conveyor system.
Yep.
Are we able to test those systems as well in Charlotte?
Testing on TS is a little bit different in that the product actually sits on top of our pallet, right? So what we have done extensive testing on is the pallet itself, as well as the stated payloads in all of our catalogs and stated data, right? So we do that testing well before a new product is launched. So if we have a new module, we test it with our pallet. Realistically, the customer's product has no change in that. We do have parameters that should be followed as far as obviously the payload as well as center of gravity to make sure that that product will work well with our system with what we've tested on.
So you're testing the fit of the component to the cradle or whatever machining is on that pallet. Is that the type of testing?
Correct. So typically a pallet will be machined or will have some type of tooling attached to it where the customer part then sits on top of that pallet.
All right.
To that point about the TS conveyors, they've been around for such a long time in the automotive world. I think you'd be hard pressed to find an application that's not already being done at another facility or similar facility.
Okay. So well proven.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. How many customers are actually utilizing this testing service? Is it just infrequent? Is it every customer? What's the
Sure.
What's the
It's
usage?
not every customer. Obviously, there's some things that may not need testing. A standard corrugate box, it's a standard box. Usually things like that are already proven, but we do recommend testing to all customers and really welcome it as well because we want those projects to go smoothly and we want our equipment to operate as required for the customer. So things like pouches or bags or kind of oddball type products we want sent down so we can test bottles as an example, right? So we can identify potential problems before a full system is implemented.
Give me some examples of testing, both testing that went flawlessly or maybe testing that didn't go so well.
Sure, and of course we do find examples where the testing does reveal issues. For example, we had a jar system where we were conveying small jars, and one thing that happens when you stop product for accumulation is something called shingling. So depending on the center of gravity and the product itself, the conveyor chain is still moving and the product is stopped, that can actually cause the product to skew or tilt even. So in something like that was discovered, and we had a remedy available, and we actually did a secondary test with that remedy, and it proved successful. So obviously that's something that is known and saw in testing that can be identified then for implementation to save time and cost in the field.
How critical is the testing in closing the sale and convincing the customer to go ahead and do it? Is it something that's a must do, they must test it, or is it just something that gives them greater confidence?
In the TS world, again, the conveyors have been around for such a long time. It's not so much the product that's being tested, right? The conveyors are out there. It's not a... Where on the Vario flow, it's kind of different, right? You're grabbing a bag or a bottle or something, right? Where the part is sitting on a pallet, which is sitting on some kind of a fixture or something, right? So the pallet is moving down the conveyor. Vario flow, I can see kind of different testing required.
Sure. Is it a collaborative test in that the customers send people down, they send product down?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do the customers come to the site and interact in that design?
Yeah, it's certainly an option. We welcome customers to our facility if they're willing to make the trip. But with today's day and age, we can easily take a video, do multiple tests at different speeds, and kind of save time as well. So save some time and cost, but we're more than welcome to have visitors as well.
So what do you think some of the advantages of the Bosch Rexroth conveyors systems or the Morrell involvement, what are some of the advantages that really attracts the customers to go through this whole process?
Sure. So I think one thing that we are recognized for is we're not just a conveyor supplier, right? We have a large product offering that can help a customer in a complete project versus just the conveyance. One example now is the EV market, battery manufacturing in general, right? So not just the assembly, we have the conveyance for the assembly, but when you talk about multi-axis systems, end-of-line testing, those are all possible Rexroth products that can be used with our partners like Morrell that can bring that full package to the customer for their entire production line.
From a sales standpoint, Kevin, are you doing more than just selling the conveyance system?
Yep, most customers don't want the bag of bolts, like we've talked about in the past. So what we do is we actually sit down with a customer. Like you say, the system's been engineered. We'll do some sub-assembly. We'll provide lube systems. We'll provide sensors. These are all the things that I truly believe that Morrell does as a value-added distributor for the customer and for working with Rexroth, right, as a close partner. Customers like that because, again, they get a pallet of things showing up on their doorstep. As an end user, most integrators have their own team that kind of does that, but any kind of value added is important.
You talked about installation. Let's cover that for a second. You said bag of bolts. If they were going to get something from Bosch Rexroth, they'd get a bag of bolts.
For the most part, yes, right? So we are a component supplier, right?
Okay.
So we're not a systems supplier, but the way our systems come, it does require assembly, right? So we're not going to ship out full lengths of conveyor.
So somebody has to put it together.
Someone has to put it together. It's like a giant erector set, essentially. Yep.
And Kevin, you're saying that Morrell is involved in that sub-assembly.
Yep. For the most part, that I can see most of the customers that I've spoken to, yeah, they want some kind of sub-assembly. So a sub-assembly shows up in 6 different pieces, and they bolt it together from there using our drawings.
Where does that take place at?
At Morrell. One of the facilities at Morrell, for sure.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about getting the information, the customer interest, the design process. We've tested it out. We're actually talking about assembling it. What kind of trends do you see that customers are moving in as they adopt these or consider these conveyance systems?
Sure. For me, I see a lot of requests for flexibility, right? The world we live in, everyone wants the newest and greatest thing. So every year there's a new model phone, there's a new model car. Especially now with e-commerce, especially a lot of these packaging companies, they shift their products and they bring in new product lines completely. So having the adaptability to change over their conveyance system and be able to reuse product is something that is very common. And really what Rexroth has is that modularity, right? So our systems are designed to be reused. For example, our TS systems, the longevity and the way that they're designed, they've been in the field for 20 plus years without requiring service, I've seen. But when they do require a changeover, or a lot of times right now with automotive, when companies are switching from classic powertrain assembly lines to EV, they have this large investment on their floor, and they want to reuse that to go to the next iteration of technology. And that's where our modularity really plays, is because we can reuse a lot of those components and add the new components that are required to make that system complete.
So they can add components to a 20-year-old system?
Absolutely.
20 years without maintenance.
We suggest maintaining your equipment, but if some of that stuff slips through the cracks, I have seen systems that have been very minimally maintained and have been running for 20 years.
Biggest thing too for the end users nowadays is manpower, right? People need people, and unfortunately, it's tough right now to find people. So the part still has to get from A to Z, right? And so that's the nice thing about these conveyors.
So we've got it installed now. We've done sub-assembly. It's at the customer's installation. The last question, or the last step of this, is what about warranty? What about service? Maybe it needs maintenance. Maybe it hasn't had maintenance. Sure. Let's talk about warranty.
Yeah, so our Rexroth conveyance products are under a 1-year warranty.
Okay.
But we also have our service team, both located in St. Joe, Michigan, as well as Charlotte, North Carolina, that we can have our technicians go to customer facilities in North America. So if a system is down, or they really even just training their maintenance staff, or whatever this system requires, we can have our technicians go on site and help those folks.
All across North America, in Canada, Kevin,
Yep.
as well?
Yep. And again, to Mason's point, we've seen conveyors out there for 20, 25 years, and the only thing that have worn is maybe some of the belting. But again, that's a wear part, right?
With proper maintenance, the systems will last for a very long time.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up this 3-part series on conveyance systems, Kevin, is there anything that you'd like to emphasize?
I guess don't be afraid. Ask, right? If you've got a situation where you need to move parts from A to Z, please call Morrell and Rexroth. We can come up with a solution. As a value-added partner, we can certainly help you out.
Yeah, from our standpoint, I would say Rexroth, we want to be viewed as a partner, right? So we're not just a conveyor supplier. We're not just a component supplier. We're there with our partners like Morrell to do a complete package and a complete system for our customers. So with our product lines and Morrell's other offerings, we really want to be that partner for our customers.
Guys, this has really been very interesting, fascinating. Thank you very much for joining us. In this series, we've covered the sales process, we've covered the information, we've covered the collaborative design process with Morrell's Motioneers, testing, real-life testing at your facilities, installation, warranty, and service. We've covered the gamut on conveyor systems. I really appreciate your involvement. I hope you found this 3-part series on conveyors and how to automate a manual packaging process as intriguing as I have. Thank you to all of our guests for their time and expertise. If you'd like to learn more about Morrell Group's conveyor solutions or connect with our team to discuss a project, visit our website morrell-group.com/conveyor-systems.